Pull out any Pokemon card. Doesn't matter which one. Just look at the bottom left, right, or directly under the right side of the main Pokemon artwork. You see that tiny symbol? It's a little shape that tells you which set it came from. A star, a wave, 3-letter code, whatever. Every Pokemon card has one, except the ones from the very first set. Because base set is the only set in Pokemon history that doesn't have a symbol at all. There's just a number. The blank space is there because when the cards were made, nobody had thought far enough ahead to need a symbol yet. There was no plan for the next set. There was just this, the set that started everything. So today I want to tell you the whole story. How the Pokemon card game came to be, how this one set turned into a global obsession, about how the company that made the cards in this set doesn't make Pokemon cards anymore, and how they lost it is a story most people have never heard. Stay till the end and I'll tell you what happened. For us to understand base set, we have to go back before the cards existed, back to 1996. In February of that year, the start of our friendship with our monsters began. Pokemon Red and Green launched on the Game Boy in Japan, and it was a hit. Kids were obsessed with catching, training, and battling Pokemon. And because of the popularity and success, the next question was, how do we make more of this? One of the answers to that was a card game. But the Pokemon company couldn't build it alone. They brought in a studio called Creatures Incorporated to design the game mechanics, to try to take that turn-based battling from the Game Boy and bring it to the table with a deck of cards. And on October 20th, 1996, the very first Pokemon card set was released in Japan, published by a company called Media Factory. That's when the Pokemon TCG truly started. Not the American set in 1999, a Japanese set in late 1996, that most Western collectors have never even held. And for over 2 years, that's where it stayed, stuck in Japan. So how did it get out? The company that brought Pokemon cards to the West wasn't the Pokemon Company. It was actually a company in Seattle called Wizards of the Coast. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because they made another card game you might have heard of, Magic the Gathering. So imagine it's 1998. Pokemon is exploding in Japan, the anime is on the TV, and Wizards looks at all of this and makes a bet. They grab the license to translate and sell these cards in America, but nobody actually knew if Pokemon would work in the West. It was a big gamble. The first thing they put out wasn't even a full set. Late in 1998, they released a tiny demo pack, just 24 cards and an instruction sheet. This was to test the waters and teach people how to play. And then on January 9th, 1999, they dropped the real thing, the English base set of 102 cards, 16 of them being holographic. And the world was about to change, because even Wizards didn't see how big this would truly become. Wizards thought they would sell some cards, but what they got was way more. In less than 6 weeks, they sold around 400,000 packs. Cards flooded into schools. Kids were trading them on the bus, in class, on the playground floor. And everyone was chasing their favorite Pokemon. Back then, a pack cost around $3. Think about that. $3. It just brings me back, but anyways, Pokemon was picked up pretty fast. The Pokemon card game made more money for Wizards of the Coast than Magic the Gathering did in its entire first 10 years. It got so big that in September of 1999, Hasbro bought Wizards of the Coast for about $325 million. And the strength of Pokemon was a huge reason why. From a shot in the dark to a $325 million company in under a year, not a bad first year if I would say so myself. But before we get into the nitty gritty of what happened, I need to show you something on your own cards. Go grab a base set card. Now look closely, because the base set was printed in 3 different runs, and they are not worth the same. The first run had a little edition 1 stamp on the left side of the art. That's first edition, the rarest and most valuable. The next run looked almost identical but dropped that little stamp. Look at the art box. If there's no drop shadow along the right and bottom edges, you got a shadowless card. Still early, still valuable. And then came the unlimited run. They added the shadow and these were printed by the millions. So the same Charizard as different cards all have widely different values. A first edition Charizard in top grade has sold for over $500,000. Now, the exact same art from the unlimited run, a tiny fraction of that. It's the same Pokemon with this same picture, just one little stamp and a shadow standing between a few hundred and a small fortune. The part that gets me is almost nobody knew any of this back then. They were just kids with cards, living as true collectors. Nobody was thinking about money yet, but once they did, that's when it all came crashing down. Everybody talks about the glory of base set, but nobody talks about the crash, and it crashed hard. By around 2000, the bubble popped. Everybody and their brother had been buying cards expecting them to climb in value, and then prices fell off a cliff. I mean, a writer at the New York Times compared it to the dot-com crash happening at the exact same time. And it didn't stop there. It hit Wizards too. When the craze cooled, the company laid off around 100 employees. The thing that made them a fortune turned into a liability almost overnight. But this isn't the end of the story. The real ending where Wizards loses Pokemon was still coming. Now, remember the open loop from the start? The company that built all of this and then lost it completely? This is it. As the years went on, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company wanted the card game back. They wanted to handle it in-house. And in 2003, that's exactly what happened. The license was officially gone, taken from Wizards of the Coast and handed to the Pokemon Company. But Wizards went out with a bang with their very last set called Skyridge. They even had another set planned after it, a set called Jamboree that was already in the works, but that never got printed. The license was gone before it could even happen. But Wizards didn't go quietly. They sued Nintendo over the whole thing, and it ended with the two sides settling out of court at the end of 2003. And just like that, the company that introduced the entire Western world to Pokemon cards was out of the Pokemon business for good. The set with no symbol, the gamble that became the Golden Goose, and then the crash with the door closed. Now, that should be the end of the story, but it's not. Because what happened to the cards after everyone walked away? So why do we still care about a set that crashed in a company that lost the license to Pokemon? Well, because base set didn't stay dead. Years later, that nostalgia came roaring back. A sealed first edition box that might have sat in a closet sold for $56K in 2018. Another one hit $408K in 2022. The cards everyone dumped in the crash became some of the most valuable collectibles. And every modern card you open today, the layout, the holos, the energy symbols, the whole framework, it all traces back to this one set. The one with the blank corner. So next time you pull a card and see that little symbol in the bottom corner, remember, there was a time before that symbol existed. A time when there was no next set and no plan. Just a gamble in a blank space. That's where it all started. If you want to see why Skyridge was Wizards' rarest and best e-reader set, go watch my The Rarest Set in Pokemon History video. Drop a comment and tell me, do you still have any base set cards? Check that closet because you might be holding on to history. See you in the next one. Goodbye.